myself again. But it's the only...
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. I'm slightly hungover after my day off yesterday. My hangovers get worse as the day goes on. So I'm glad that I'm joined by Samantha, Sav and Kendall. And Katie is, I think, swearing in her back garden before she comes on. She did say she was going to be slightly late. So we will bring Katie in when she arrives. But good evening, girls. How are you?
Hi.
Hi. Good as you can be after that performance.
I think you'll all be swearing there. I want to say well done to Kendall, who was on the Man United podcast, who was absolutely superb on there, giving a good account of herself. So well done for getting out and about and doing it. You were brilliant. Samantha, where do we start with that?
Samantha's necking the gin already.
I know. Where do we start with that performance, Samantha? I mean, it was horrendous. That the capitulation at the end was horrendous. But I mean, go on, give us your assessment of the game at the weekend.
I have no words. Like, it was just so bad. I mean, Darlow was fantastic again. I'm sure at some point we'll talk about the fact that he kept him on even though he was injured. He even gave an interview about how he was injured. Setup was wrong. The team selection was wrong. I was drinking beers. I spent a lot of time trying to work out why players were in certain positions. I missed the first 10 minutes on my stream, so I missed the goal. And then after that, I just couldn't understand where players were supposed to be playing. I didn't know if they were supposed to mark players. I didn't know if they were supposed to be marking space. There was no way we were ever going to win that game. And, Man United are in such a difficult period at the minute that maybe they wouldn't have gone on to get a winner. They were struggling, but we were just absolutely pathetic. And what happened in the last few minutes is just insulting to a fan. I mean, I'm going to leave the swearing to Katie, but it was insulting to be a fan watching a Premier League club that just ran about like schoolboys. And I said that on Twitter and people were like, hey, but don't be offensive to schoolboy football. But they just ran about like headless chickens. And Steve Bruce comes out and said, we were unlucky. And they Man United were poor. Man United could have won that easily 7-8-1 if they had have been a little bit more clinical. There's no progression. He said, can you not see what I'm trying to do? You're transitioning from a back five to a back four. That's it. And if you
work in progress, Samantha. Work in progress. That's Steve Bruce's catchphrase.
I mean, I'm really hopeful that somebody asks Liam Kennedy tomorrow as a member of the journalist community, when he says, can you not see what we are trying to do and explain it to the fans, that he can somehow answer that for us. Because no, we can't. It's shit. It's not football. It's poor. There's no point to what we're doing. And it's a culmination of last season as well. And I said it's just pathetic.
Yeah, I 100% agree. This work in progress thing is really doing my head in. And it was interesting. I was out and about today working and doing an interview with someone for a documentary. And he happened to mention to me that he'd just done his own little bit of internet research to find that at all the other clubs that he's been at, Steve Bruce does, in fact, use this phrase. If you go back through his interviews with Sheffield Wednesday, Sunderland, anyone you want to check out, at some point when he's interviewed by the press, he says we're a work in progress. Absolutely bizarre. So it's obviously a Bruce thing, and that's where we're at with Steve Bruce now. A lot of comments coming in. We'll try and get through as many as we can. Want to get the girls' opinion. Evening, Katie. Hope you're well. Kendall, let's come to you. Give us your take on that game at the weekend.
I just don't understand how he, as a manager, right? So we've been in this position several times. So already twice this season, Brighton and now. How you, as a manager, can then come in your post-match conference and say, oh, well, we did this wrong and we did this wrong and blah, blah, blah. And we're a work in progress and it wasn't as bad as it looked. Well, what could have been worse? 5, 6? Like what could have been worse than that? in like sort of on paper, because in the league, yes, obviously goal difference, but what could have been worse than that? Really, I just don't understand it. And the fact that he starts blaming everyone else around him, so he starts like taking the pressure off himself, work in progress, like things like that. And it's just like, you need to take some responsibility and say, you know what, I set up wrong today. I should have had Hendrick centrally, for example, or I maybe should have started Alma on. Like, he needs to be more proactive in what he's saying and taking some blame onto himself, because that sort of mentality that, oh, it's all right, lads, it's fine, you can just, it doesn't matter, I'm not really going to like berate you for doing any wrong, is now starting to rub off on the players. Because as we've seen, Kraft came out and was like, oh, well, it was all right because we were in the match till the 86th minute. Right? Yeah. And like, what difference does that make if it like you didn't win the match or even keep the draw? And 3 goals were scored in the last 10 minutes. So, and then to leave Darlow on, obviously, who was injured for the last 10 minutes, which is clearly probably a factor as to why they scored the 3 goals, is just baffling to me. And to not explain your decisioning on that or any reason why. I mean, from literally Hayden's injury, that's when it started going wrong, because he made a defensive change at a time when, for a midfielder, when we could have actually attacked that game a little bit more. I don't understand why I didn't just move Hendrick over and then put a winger on, like put Fraser on, for example. Just move Hendrick into Hayden's position with Shelby and then put Fraser on or put Alma on, depending on who you're going to have there. I just really don't understand why I did that. And then from that point onwards, it just went bad. The second half was so bad. Then again, if Wilson had scored the goal, I think it maybe would have been another different story. But what we don't really know, and it obviously ended up the way it did. So it's a bit confusing.
Sav, it was awful, really. I think one of the stats I saw as well was that Steve Bruce's team is now conceding on average 17.1 shots on target per game, which is now, well, I think that's worse than Sunderland when they were relegated. It was awful, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, it was really poor. And what annoys me of Steve Bruce when he says, don't they know what we're doing? What is he doing? Because from what I see, he plays the same tactic every match. Nothing changes. When we came out in the second half unchanged, I was like, we're going to lose this because we weren't good enough in the first half. So why wouldn't you go in at half time and think of changing it around a little bit, just doing something to make us work? I said today, I was watching a clip of us defending. I said, you could play the Benny Hill theme tune over that. Just no one knew where they were going. They were just all running around in different directions. It's just like, you can't play defensively if you're not very good at defending. And I find that quite, horrific for us, and we're in real trouble if something doesn't change soon. Joelinton, I'm not picking on him, but in the first half, I forgot he was on at times. I think he should have come off at half time.
I forgot.
Yeah. And Miggy should have been on because we needed pace and we wasn't using any pace. We were just slow, lethargic. It was uncomfortable to watch, typical Newcastle game, really. But, and Darlow, oh my God, I was seething. Like, well, keeper couldn't move and he didn't even think. And then he put Miggy on. It was like 3 minutes, 87 minutes, whatever time he put him on. And, well, how can you have a keeper that's limping, hobbling around and then think, oh, I know, I'll just leave him there and I'll stick, a winger on? Like, what is the sense being made in that? Oh, God, it made me so angry. I used to like Steve Bruce, but now actually I'm starting to quite actively dislike him.
Yeah, he doesn't look too happy with you either, to be honest.
That's Steve Bruce, not Steve Bruce.
It's who? It's me.
Bruce. Bruce, do you sell up for that?
It's like I don't know who it is. We were laughing about this the other day. It's obviously the new FIFA 21 game, and that is Steve Bruce on the game. But it looks like he's been in Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 all together, doesn't he? Looks like he's had a right pattern. But, Katie, we're at the ready. That's from last week. Obviously, we're ready for your outburst. Give us your view. Give us your view on the game, please, Katie. The weekend.
I don't know how much of an outburst. I've just woke up. That's why I was late. So
have you been on tranquilizers since the game?
I've basically just tried to sleep through everything. It was absolutely fucking shit. I don't think you can sum it up in any other way. It was absolutely fucking shit.
Yeah.
It's so annoying as well when you live in the Northwest and Man United are there for the taking. They're playing absolutely crap, and then along come Newcastle to make them look good again. We didn't even fucking score. Like, we didn't fucking score. I just thought it was absolutely shocking. It was rubbish. It was boring. It was the same old Steve Bruce that we've seen 1,000 times before. What the fuck is he actually thinking though in relation to what tactics he uses? His starter line, his start up, I didn't agree with whatsoever in the slightest. Did we make what? Any changes from the Burnley game? It was just annoying. It was from the moment we started, it was just absolutely dull, boring football. I switched off. When it went 2-1, I thought, fuck this. I'm not fucking sitting here and watching this shit. I'm glad. So I haven't got a fucking clue. Like, I've not seen the goals. I refused to watch the goals. I also had a tantrum and refused to watch any more football over the weekend because I couldn't handle it. The fact that we've got Dubravka out as well and he's risked Darlow. Who the fuck does that? And then it's like, oh yeah, let's just stick Miggy on for like a little walk around at the end. What's the point of that as well? It's fucking pathetic. Always late with your subs because he just can't be arsed. I just generally don't see the point. And what work in progress are we? What the fuck is that? The only progress I can think of is the fact that the progress to get him out of the fucking club.
That was quite reserved. That was quite reserved. I've been looking online for a gift for you for Christmas for the Secret Santa, and I just couldn't. I kind of keep it a secret.
That's well.
I love that,
man.
It's still not big enough. No, I might have to get it. I might have to get. I might have to get on the old. I might have to do the old Patrick Swayze with Wallace and do a little bit of molding and build a really big one for you. And you just get the music on. What was it? Ghost, wasn't it? Yeah, that's right. That's right. Where do we start? There's a question here. We'll take this question. Yeah, Keith, good one. Sam, come to you first. Question to all. If Newcastle are in the bottom three at Christmas, New Year, do you think Ashley will sack Steve Bruce?
I think he might sack him before that, depending on where we are. I mean, if you look at the way that we're playing, unless something drastic changes, we are going to be adrift at some point. Yes, he's got, in a way, it's good that there's some players coming back, but in a way, it's not, because I can see him really going back to a back five if we start to get cut adrift. I can see players' confidence being knocked more than it is already. So I don't know if Ashley will wait until Christmas, because you really are rolling the dice that you'll have a better second half, and he's made that mistake twice. I don't know whether it's true or not that he gets more money if he sells the club and we're in the top 10. I heard that mentioned. So I don't know if he'll wait. I don't know who I would bring in. I see that asked a lot. You know, I can't see it being anyone long term. One, he won't pay them, and two, if we get taken over, it might actually change. So you're probably looking at a Nigel Pearson, for example. Someone said Sam Allardyce. I'm not sure he would come back and work under Ashley. So it's all about who would be available. But I honestly, I think, and we never really know what Mike Ashley's thinking, but I think in this instance, he will have learned from his previous mistakes. And I would say if we go on a run of another 5, 6, 7 games, and we are as dreadful as we've been, and it looks like the players are starting to lose confidence, more so than some of them already. Like I've mentioned Almiron for a couple of weeks now. Something isn't right there. Yet then I think, he's going to have to protect his asset. He's going to have to protect those players, because we've got, 80, 100 million pounds worth of attacking players, and we honestly look like we couldn't score at schoolboy level at the minute. So I think he could react before that if it continues on like it is.
Kendall, do you think he'll sack Steve Bruce before Christmas?
I was under the impression that probably not, like right at the beginning of the season, I used to think, oh, Steve Bruce is the media darling. He's got so many friends involved in and around the top, and he never really gets much stick in the media. Where the fans are more seen to be expecting too much or unrealistic with what we expect from people. So I used to think that maybe he's not, but I think now the way that he's gone about the takeover, how active he is in sort of trying to move his club on, etc. He's now protecting his assets, so I really do think that he probably will get rid of Steve Bruce. I think 2 more games at that level with that shocking display, I think 2 games, 3 games max, and I think he'll be gone if it continues like that. We all know as football fans, Christmas is so crucial. It's so vital to clubs who are going to struggle towards the back end of the second half of the season. So for me, to be honest, it'll be about who was coming in, who we were going to get in first, because I don't really think anyone would want to come at this point. It's a bit of a funny old thing. I don't think we have the pull of managers like certain other clubs do. So yeah, it's all be about who gets in. I do think there's probably a good chance that Eddie Howe could come in. Whether that's me being unrealistic or not, I don't really know. But at this point, in a realistic sense, I think he's probably the only manager that I would maybe take at this point. I wouldn't take like Sam Allardyce or no one like that one, not that he would come back. I think there was a poll on Twitter the other day where someone had said, "Oh, would you take Pardew back if he came?" And like so many people said yes. Like
he didn't get a vote, Kendall. When we had that show with Liam about the worst manager, vote for your worst manager under Ashley.
Yeah,
he never got one vote.
It's just that we were talking about, weren't we? And I said I think people more hated him than as a manager. I think people disliked him as a person, and his personality and the way he was, and the cocky, arrogant way that he used to come across. This whole cup final crack. I don't know what that was about. Anyways, I hope I never do that again because now I'm gonna have nightmares. But yeah, so I think people more hated him, and honestly, the other day, so many people said they would take him back, and that is how far we have fallen. Because I've never seen hatred towards a manager like that since him. Never in my life. Not even Steve McLaren got that much hate at the time. Can you imagine what the crowd would have been like on at the weekend had they been in and people weren't in?
Oh my God, he would have got dogs abuse. He would have came out and probably blamed us in the post-match interview.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
He would have said, the fans weren't on our side and it was so bad, and that's why he probably would have done that and just see it happening now, because he just never takes the blame for himself ever.
Yeah, John making a comment there about whinging about Bruce when we were 1-0 and second in the league, and they wondered why we're called deluded. John, give yourself a shake, mate. None of us have been happy with Steve Bruce. I certainly never championed Steve Bruce at all. He was 11th choice. He actually came to us and asked for the job because nobody would take the job, because nobody wants to work under Mike Ashley and Lee Charnley because they know it's like a comedy show.
We were still moaning about the football as well at the time. We weren't saying,
of course we were.
Fantastic football. It was just that Bruce was more lucky at the time.
Yeah, I disagree, John. It's all about opinions, though, mate. So you're entitled to yours, but I think you're wrong there, mate. Sav, do you think Brucey's going to get the chop, or do you think Mike's going to stick with him?
Do you know what? I'm in two minds about it. Like Kendall said, at the beginning of the season, I couldn't see him going anywhere, but it's dire, isn't it? But then, to be fair, I'd take Zippy from Rainbow over Steve Bruce right now. It's just it's terrible. We go out, and like I said before, it's just the same. It's like same shit, different day with him all the time. He doesn't. The subs coming on really late. When you've got a game that you're starting to look a bit shaky, you do sub on, try and change tactics, and he just doesn't do it. And he's, with the, no one knows what we're doing. I don't know what he's doing, because it doesn't look like it's any different to the previous matches. I would, and I've been converted because I used to actually quite like him. I was in the closet, but, I did used to quite like him. But now I've completely gone the other way. I can't wait for him to go.
The big worry for me is who on earth will get in to replace him, and I don't think we'll get anyone coming in, because the uncertainty still hangs over the club with regards to the takeover. So anyone who did come in could be in that horrible position where they come in and then the takeover goes through and they're out, so they miss out on an opportunity. It was a poison chalice to start with. Bruce came in and took it. And I just worry about who will get in. You know,
You
we
may as
could
well
end up
just
with
give
it.
Steve Agnew the job, because what does
Oh
Steve
dear
Bruce
God.
do?
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
does
true.
Steve Bruce do in reality? It showed when we played Newport when Steve Agnew was left to pick the penalty takers.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
What's that about? So Steve Bruce is just a passenger in the game. He just watches what goes on and just says, "Oh, Steve, you go and sort out the subs and that." So he may as well just give him the job. Say ya. Steve,
The problem is
the assistant.
he wants to be everyone's friend. He does. There's no sort of hierarchy there. He's just there to be everyone's mate, and you can't manage like that.
No, of course you can't. You can't at all. And that's the thing. He's a man manager. He's not a coach, and that is half the problem. Anya's asking, do you think Man U practice falling over for penalties? Yeah. If you watch back the Friday night show, the Three Amigos, I did call it, and I did on Match Day Live that there'd be a penalty, and sure enough, there was. Man United always get a penalty, and it's always against Newcastle. Great save by Darlow, it has to be said. Katie, Steve Bruce, will Mike Ashley have the balls to get rid of him, or will he hang on to him and give him some more money to spend in January?
Will he get rid of him? Like, we see the footy is absolutely dire, and the tactics are non-existent, and the fact that he couldn't manage his way out of a fucking paper bag. But at the end of the day, if you look at stats on really basic paper, we're still in the cup. And we're not at the bottom half of the table. That's enough for Ashley to be like, oh yeah, we're fine. And it's just pot luck. It's just the luck that, as always, where as a club, all we want is watch decent football and fucking progress and not play. Let's be happy with sitting in the fucking middle of the table all the time. But they're not bothered about that. And then you've obviously got to look at the other stuff with the whole takeover. If that is going to happen in the background, do they really want to rock the boat by getting rid of the manager at that time and not wait until they can take the reins of it? I can see him staying, and I can see him continuing down this route, and I can say he'll just be fucking lucky. He'll just be absolutely fucking lucky with odd games, and we won't get anywhere, and we'll just bounce around the same place. We're always bouncing around. Because as far as they're concerned, that's absolutely fine. As long as we keep Prem status, that's fine. That's all they want for the money. Not fucking arsed about the fact that the footy's shit and the fans aren't interested in watching. Do I think it might have been different if the fans were inside? Probably, maybe, but I just can't see it happening until it's been resolved. What's actually going on with the club? The actual final, yes, there's going to be a takeover. No, there's not going to be a takeover. We're stuck with him. And I think we'll continue to hear from everyone else, apart from us Newcastle fans, how well he's doing and how great he's playing and how he's fantastic with all of his choices that he makes. And we'll continue to hear that fucking shit and be the people that constantly get called out all the time for the fact that we're not supporting him when we've done more than enough to support him. What he wants to do now, literally just hold his hand during the fucking match and tell him what to do. Fucking joke. But no, I can't see him going anywhere. Absolutely not. Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's my big concern. Who's going to replace him? A lot of people, suggest Eddie Howe. I know, a couple of you said Eddie Howe as well, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the next few games progress, because when you're getting beaten, you're getting thumped comprehensively like we did at the weekend against a pretty poor Man United team, it has to be said. You wonder where the next points are coming from. But Bruce does have a little bit of luck, but has it run out? Southern Magpie says, even at all, what's your thoughts on Wilson being so isolated? Obviously, Joe Linton needed to improve basics, but do you believe part of the problem was Bruce's tactics? Well, we'll expand on that. Samantha, because there's a lot of questions to ask about what Bruce is actually doing with players. We've made this point on the show before about Hendrick. I mean, the guy had a blinder in midweek for Scotland, got the winning goal, played in his right position. Fraser, played a blinder for Scotland, got the winning goal. He's not getting anywhere near the team. Hendrick's playing well, and then comes to Newcastle in one position and gets played out on the wing. It's a little bit. I just don't understand it. I think it comes down to what some of you are saying about him, like trying to be mates with people. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
Is that part of the problem? Do you think it's he's playing people out of position, and that's the reason that Newcastle aren't playing so well? Obviously, Wilson's being isolated. He's having to play up front with Joe Linton, who's again seems to be regressing again. A lot of people asking us if I've changed my opinion on him. I'll come to that later. What's your take, and how can he try and resurrect this and improve things?
The fundamental problem for me is that he doesn't trust some of his players. He doesn't trust Kraft at right back, which is why he plays Hendricks in front of him. That's the reason he's not starting Fraser. He said it was because he played international football during the week. Same for Almiron. Someone on Twitter rightly pointed out how many minutes Hendricks played. So he talks shit about standard things that are easy to go back and check. So he played Hayden in front of the back four because he didn't trust Lascelles, I would assume, because Lascelles, I've been a supporter of Lascelles. He's just shocking at the minute. And Fernandez is worse playing beside him, because when he played beside Schär, they actually had a decent game. So I think he's trying to compensate for areas of the team that he's not comfortable with. And that is really having an impact on us. Instead of just believing in his players, he wants to play in his 4-4-2 or his 4-4-1-1 system, wing play. But he doesn't play wingers. St. Maximum is not a traditional winger. Almiron is. Hendricks is maybe a box-to-box. I'm not really sure. He's not a right winger. So he said he wants to play a certain style of football, and he doesn't play it. He's overcompensating for people in the wrong position. We're now putting in terrible performances, so he's going to become more apprehensive about changing it. Now you look at every opponent we have and you think, is it the right time to change it? So, we can't change it against Man United. We can't change it against Wolves. Very soon we won't be able to change it against Leeds. The list starts to grow. We are playing the most long balls at the minute. We can't defend. There's so much wrong with it, because I said it right at the very start of the season, he has to pick a formation and a way they want to play, and he needs to be true to it, and he just can't do it because he's so worried about what other teams are going to do and what they're going to exploit, that he won't set us up to actually try and exploit what their weaknesses are, which is exactly what we should have done against Man United, because they got hammered 6-1. We all saw where their problems were. We should have attacked them with pace and been turning their defenders. And instead, we played deep, rigid, crap football and let them get back into the game. And that's the problem. He won't play the right players in the right positions and, try to integrate a style. He's too worried about what may come back the other way. And we are just going to get hammered in every game because we can't defend, we get nervous, we can't attack. Even if we were to score 2 goals, I would be quite convinced we would concede 3, 4, 5. That's the problem. He may say, do you not know what I'm doing? But I actually don't think he knows what he's doing. And if I'm Ryan Fraser, Almiron, Alan St. Maximum, Callum Wilson, I wouldn't want to play for him. I wouldn't want to be anywhere near the team.
Okay, Kendall, we've touched a little bit, on Henrik with you, and why do you think Bruce is playing these players out of position?
Honestly, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, because I literally have no idea why. It's just baffling to me that you can have 20 plus years experience in a managerial job at a pretty high level as well, because I would say like championship, obviously, and you sign a player like Jeff Hendrick. Surely you've watched him before you've signed him, because obviously why would you even sign him otherwise? Or you listen to what you're scouting, whatever people are saying. Why would you sign a player like that and then think, I'm going to stick him out on the right? Literally, what? I do not understand why you would actually do that. It is just so baffling to me that you would be that a level of a manager like that in the Premier League and do that random stuff like that. Like playing Joe Linton centrally, when we've all seen he's shown his best sort of. Yes, he's been absolutely crap for like a year, but we've seen his best little sparks. And when he was getting the yellow cards and stuff, and he's playing out wide. It's just so confusing to me that you would do that as a manager of that level. And then you play a formation, for example, like how we play, and you end up with a lone striker like Callum Wilson, and because you are sitting so far back and so deeply because you're playing such defensive football, it's meaning that players like Alan St. Maximin are ending up having to play sort of left wing back positions, and we know he's not remotely defensive. He is not remotely a defensive type of player. We saw it against Brighton. He absolutely got done in on that side by Tariq Lamptey. And I just think to myself, why would you even do that? Why would you then, knowing that he has niggles now most often, knowing that he's a target of every single team that we come up against because he is the biggest threat, why would you put him on the wing to be the target of fouls and leave him more open? Why not play him centrally, knowing that he's one of the most creative players going forward? Oh my god, that pitch just makes me like punch that pie in the head. Literally, like, why would you not play him centrally, knowing that he could be your most creative player going forward, as long as we're not lumping up bloody long balls from the back when you've got a lone striker? How's that going to ever work? It's not going to work. And I don't understand how he can't see this. We are not professional managers. We're fans of a game. We do not have the experience and the coaching badges that they do. So how can he not see it, but everybody else can? It's honestly, it's got to a point now I just do not understand it. It's like, it's just confusing to me. I like to get Agatha Christie involved in like investigating a mystery, because this is a mystery.
It's an interesting point that you make about Almiron. Like, there's definitely a rabbit off with Almiron, and why he isn't getting a look in. I mean, I don't think it's anything to do with his injury, but yeah, I mean, not playing Almiron is very, very strange. Sav, I mean, it's so frustrating, isn't it? I mean, there is talent in that squad. I think most of us accept that, but we're not getting the best out of them because Bruce is playing them, out of position, and it seems to be affecting the club. Somebody's asking, do we think Paul Unwin's asking, do we think Bruce has lost the dressing room? It's a possibility, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, because he doesn't change anything, we just continue to play absolute shite. You've got Shelby staying there, lobbing long balls up that are going nowhere. Callum Wilson, we've actually got a proven goal scorer, and he's not getting like last match, he's not getting a look in. So, I don't understand it. Hendrick, I actually thought his first match for us, he actually looked really good. And then ever since at the weekend, he looked shocking. But that's because he's not in his right position. I don't understand what Steve Bruce is trying to do, and I think that's half the problem. And I think it's really concerning that he won't try and change what tactic to what we're doing. Even in a match, like, it was obvious at the weekend when we came in at half time that something wasn't working. We didn't even score our own goal, but so you would surely just try and change that, but he never does. And then he'll put the subs on really late. Miggy, for me, should have come on at half time. If he weren't going to start him, he should have been on. But just to change something, I think I said this before, I'd rather see us lose by a few goals and actually try than sit back and play the same old strategy that doesn't work and just for the same old results. Yeah.
Okay, Katie, can you answer the conundrum as to why he plays players out of position?
Do you know what? I genuinely think what he does is he puts like a board on the dressing room and then just goes first dibs. Go and play what you want to play, because there's absolutely nothing behind it at all. It's just like, go and play when you play. Fraser doesn't ever get to play because the board's too high and he can't reach it to put his name on it. So that's probably why he's never started. But no, honestly, I've got no idea. I actually thought Miggy, the reason we've not seen Miggy much was internationals, because from what I grasp, and I could be like completely wrong because I don't watch them play, but he seems to carry his team with the pace, and because the games were so close together, that's what I thought as well. So I thought he was dropped initially because they said don't play him so much, and then now it's rest. So if he's not starting, if he's not starting for the weekend, I'll completely change my mind on that and something dodgy's going on. But I just don't know. But I said it the other week, this cannot be just Steve Bruce, because like Kendall said, he's at the he's the sidelines, and yes, half the time he's not doing anything. Everybody else is the ones that are piping up. It can't just be him that just do these. I just don't understand what he's doing. Whether he's trying to please everyone because he wants to be fucking liked when half of fucking Newcastle hate him, he's going a bit backwards on that, like completely wrong. But I haven't got a fucking clue. I literally haven't got a clue. He's absolutely doing me head in with it though, because every single time there's a starting lineup, everyone's going mad because it's pretty much the same team. Every fucking time, and you know it's going to go the same way. We're going to get the half time. We're going to be absolutely like screaming at the telly, doing our whole manager thing to get them to put a fucking sub on, and then the subs don't come on until 80-something minutes, and we just waste it. I just generally don't have a clue, and it annoys us because I love watching the sport documentaries. So like I love watching you see them, and you see them in the dressing room doing the tactics. You see them talking in depth about the other team, and like, or if you at Leeds, you see the whole, what was it, the gate thing where he's going sleeping on Spygate. But I just don't see any of that ever from Newcastle. Obviously, no one knows what goes on behind, but I just can't see us actually paying attention to other teams because there was so many holes in that game for Manchester United that we could have snuck in, and we just didn't. So who's doing our research on the other teams? Are they watching someone from the 90s or something? Because it's fucking pathetic.
Yeah, I've noticed this this love-in with Steve Bruce, like, and there's a lot of ex-players very, very defensive of him, and it does really get on my wick. They're prepared to slag the players off, but not prepared to slag Steve Bruce off, and it's becoming a bit nauseating, and it's a bit upsetting when some of these characters are actually former Newcastle legends. But obviously friendships go a long way in football, but it doesn't do your reputation any good if you're not stating what everyone can see, and that is that Bruce is absolutely useless and clueless and shouldn't be in charge of any football club, never mind Newcastle United.
It's the same thing. So like, do you know if you've got a manager and your manager is like an absolute cunt, sorry, and absolute dick.
A C-bomb, bang.
Damn. An absolute dick, and they're pushing you, and they want you to work longer, they want you to push you harder. You absolutely hate them. You get the manager who's like, oh, they'll give you a sneaky break, they'll bring you stuff in, they'll let you have your holidays when you want your holidays. You're gonna like that manager, and that's the route it seems to go down. Imagine if we got people in like Reno, who's the whole thing is play like a bastard on the pitch. It'd be a complete mix, and I reckon it full on is just the whole he's being too nice to them, but I think it's more outside of football. Like I think he's just literally full on just being like doing whatever they want to make them happy, apart from actually put pressure on them to actually perform.
Yeah. Only good thing of the weekend was the £19,000 for the food bank. Here, Ian. I know a lot of other people have made that point tonight. Dave Harrison as well. Big shout out to the fans. 20k for the food bank. Awesome. Yeah, fantastic that. To see Newcastle fans acting in such a way, not bothering to pay the obscene amount of money to watch that load of crap, and raising money for a good cause. So well done to everybody who did that, and long may it continue, the support for the food bank. Big shout out to Steve Hasty and everybody else who is involved. Darren Baldwin Funerals, big thank you to them. Been sponsoring the show for the last month just to pay for the StreamYard. Big shout out to you, and as always to qtechshop.co.uk and the guys who make pool tables and snooker tables, and they do all the snazzy t-shirts and stuff that we've been able to sell. So big thank you to John and the lads down there. Samantha, the takeover, been quite quiet on that, but more rumblings from Mike Ashley today via Keith Downey on social media that he's going to throw the kitchen sink at this legal battle to try and get this takeover through with the Premier League. Not something we've really talked about a great deal over the last few weeks, but talk of potentially this outcome being round about Christmas time. So is there any thoughts from you on that? How are you feeling? Have you pushed it to the back of your mind?
Yeah, pretty much the back of my mind. But at the minute, when I saw that break, I'm kind of thinking, does he need some help to lift this kitchen sink up to throw? Because I mean, we're all, if you're going to do it, do it. If you're going to take action, take action. I don't want to look at bread. I don't want to look at wine. I don't want conspiracy theories. I don't want little leaked bits of information to Keith Downey that don't tell us anything. I don't want Michael Chopra's absolute bollocks coming out about the Saudis are gone. If you're going to do it, or just stay silent. I do believe we're going to be taken over. I hope it's by the Saudis. If it's not, whatever. I think we need it to happen soon. I think if it was by Christmas, it would be a wonderful Christmas present. I just would like something to happen soon because, you know, like Sav said, I can't stand Steve Bruce. Can't listen to him, can't look at him. I can't see the unhappy little faces of our players that we want to be starting and actually influencing games when they're not getting a chance. So if the only thing that's going to kind of get that progressing is the takeover, then Mike, do something about it. You know, stop talking about it, do something about it. That's pretty much where I am at the minute.
Okay, Kendall, same question to you about the takeover. Is it, you know, are you confident that it'll go through? It seems there's, you know, more positivity than negativity about it these days. Liam Kennedy obviously did a cracking write-up last week, and his write-up was really positive as well.
Yeah, I do truly believe that it will happen at some point. Whether that's because I think it's going to, or whether it's because I want it to, I don't really know. But I do think that now, because we're not hearing as much, you know, through the media and as many leaks as we did before, I think that's obviously a good thing. We desperately need this. We as fans, especially when you can't go, we are probably looking at next season, getting back to the games like fully in a full capacity. And we need something to look forward to because I cannot watch that Saturday again. Never mind, like the rest of the season, I can't watch that game again. Honestly, I can't put myself through it. As a football fan, who would literally sit and want to watch that? No one. Absolutely no one. You'd much rather go walk 10 minutes down the road to your local football club and go and watch them because they put a far, far better and cheaper game on and more interesting with actual more sense than that over there. Honestly, it's just so frustrating, and I really hope that this takeover goes through before Christmas because that is when we need it. We need Christmas and post-Christmas to be of something of merit, because right now what are we watching? What is the point? Who's going to pay £15 for that? Honestly, if you paid £15 for that, you must be actually unwell in your head, because I can't believe it. That's no one's going to want to pay that.
No, it was absolutely mental, that, like, to be fair. Absolutely mental. Keith, you make a very valid point there, mate. I've got to be honest, it's not something I've particularly followed over the years. I've dipped in and out of it. You know, the club don't do anywhere near enough for women's football, by the way. It's one of the things that I hope the new owners, when we get them, really look at and give them as much support as some of the other Premiership clubs. But yeah, well done to Newcastle's women team. Beat Blackburn 11-0 yesterday. Certainly showing the men's team how it's done. Sav, take over. Are you as confident as everybody else seems to be that this is going to go through at some point?
Do you know what? I'm in two minds. Half the time I try not to care about it and put it to, because the disappointment over what happened earlier this year was just, you know, it was quite depressing when it all fell through after all the hope and, you know, excitement. The other half of me is, as soon as a picture of bread is posted, I'm zooming in, trying to see some sort of cryptic message. And I try to stop myself. I'm like, no, don't do it this time. And then I'm just straight on it. You know, I wish they wouldn't do stuff like that. I mean, I don't know if the bread thing was intentional or not. You know, if it wasn't intentional, it was very strange and, you know, coincidental. You know, like liking certain tweets. I just wish they wouldn't do that, because it just sort of throws everything into a little bit of turmoil. And is it going through? Isn't it? Well, no one's said anything. So I'm just trying to sort of, I want it to go through, because, you know, it would be a complete change for us. And like Sam said, getting rid of Steve Bruce would be brilliant. That's the only way we're going to progress and move forward, is to, you know, change what we're doing. But I don't know. I hope it goes through. What I'm seeing is positive, but then what I was seeing a few months ago was very positive, and then it turned very negative. So I'm just trying not to get too overly invested in it, and I'm trying not to click on the pictures anymore, but I still will. So, you know.
Fair play. Katie, does the takeover make you swear a lot?
No, do you know what? I've said twice. I've said I'm not getting involved. The last time it took literally about an hour before I was back looking at everything. This time, I have no idea whatsoever what is going on with it. I've stayed well out of it. When I've seen pictures of bread, it's just made me want bread. I've literally not bothered. It got us so wound up to the point where I don't sleep. I've got insomnia, so I could be spending literally 8 hours a night trawling into the most ridiculous rabbit holes about absolutely Christ knows what shit, just to look up to find something. But no, I'm not getting involved because there's enough people jumping on completely all over it for me to just sit back. But I won't get involved. Nathan messages us and he's like, don't get mad at us if I show you something. And he'll send me a picture of something and I'm like, you're a bastard, but then I'm all right. But nah, I'm not getting involved. It got us so pissed off last time. It was a fucking absolute horrible experience because it was so close. Do I think that we're going to get taken over? Yes. Do I know whether it will be the Saudis? No. I am not paying any attention into anything until I see someone stood on that pitch.
Yeah.
That's all I'm doing. Apart from,
Fair
I'll
enough.
just continue to want bread if they post bread.
Nicholas, you're quite right. Amanda has got integrity. And yeah, look, if it's off, you'll hear from her. Believe you me. That's all I'm saying on that. But it's always interesting to hear about the takeover. And I'm pretty sure the next time we hear about it, it'll be positive news. So fingers crossed. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Someone asked earlier, I can't remember who it was, what do we think the points total is going to be from our next 4 games? Wolves away, Everton at home, Southampton away, Chelsea at home, and then after that we've got Crystal Palace away, Aston Villa away, and then West Brom at home. So that takes us up to 12th of December. But let's look at the next 4
games as well.
Yeah.
It's the 15th. That's the link. Yeah.
Let's look at those next 4 games. Let's look at the 5. That takes us to the end of November. Wolves away, Everton at home, Southampton away, Chelsea at home, Crystal Palace away. Samantha, what we're going to get from that?
2 points. I mean, you're just looking at informed teams at the minute, teams with philosophy, teams that kind of know what they're about. I just can't see them changing enough to get any more out of any of those games. I mean, the teams are going to be licking their lips when they're going up against us, whether it's home or away. It doesn't make a difference anymore. They are going to see this rigid, horrible setup where we're going to drop back, but we can't defend. And they're just going to be like, boys, go out and have a field day. Go out and play like you're on the training pitch, which hopefully is not what we do, because that's shocking if it is. I can't see anything. What I would like to happen is that he just says, fuck it, let's play all our attacking players. You know, I would drop Shelby, but to be honest, I don't know if we have anyone to replace him. And I would go 4-2-3-1, and I would say, get the ball wide, attack, stop playing long ball, get the ball on the ground. Okay, Shelby's our best passer. Well, just keep it simple and work the ball and make the space and press and, you know, just try and play the game of football the way it's supposed to be played. And maybe we would come out of it with 4.6 points. The way we're playing at the minute, we'll be lucky to get 2 draws. And, I don't, maybe a point against Southampton, maybe a point against, who are the teams?
We have got, Wolves away,
Leicester,
Everton at home, Southampton away, and Chelsea at home. And then we've got Crystal Palace away on the 28th.
I'm going to say Palace and Southampton. Maybe Chelsea, we do have a decent record, but it's a flip up who it is, but I can't see more than 2 points.
Yeah, a lot of people agreeing. Ginger Hoskins says 2 points as well. Kendall?
Yeah, I was going to say 1 against Southampton. I'm not confident against any of the rest. Villa are playing absolute blind. They got the player that I wanted just to get, Ross Barkley, and he's made a massive impact in that 2 games that he's played. Palace on form with whatever they're doing. Yeah, I can only see us getting maybe a point against Southampton, but I wouldn't care. They haven't been too bad. And their keeper's been pretty decent as well, McCarthy. So we'll get nothing against Everton. They will absolutely. I am dreading playing Everton. I'm more dreading playing them than anyone else.
They'll destroy us.
Yeah, in the next five games. If we set up the way we have the last few games, oh man, honestly, I don't even want to know what like James Rodriguez and Dominic Calvert-Lewin will do to us. I really just have no.
We might as well just sit down on the pitch when we play them.
Yeah. May as well just not go. Just go. Oh, that's all right, we'll just forfeit, just get the 3 points back. Because I'd just rather do that than sit and be absolutely showing up. Obviously, Timo Werner for Chelsea is now coming into his own, scored 2 goals the other day, even though it was obviously a 3-3 draw. They're attacking. I don't even want to know what they're going to do against us. Yeah, I can literally only maybe see a point against Southampton. Otherwise, I really can't see us getting anything from any of the next 5 games. I mean, I know Wolves aren't necessarily in form right now, but they're a miles better team than us. They've got way more quality than we do. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a bit of a tough view in the next couple of games, depending. But as Sam says, I hope he just goes out and just thinks to himself, you know what? Well, now to lose, may as well just go and just do the opposite to what I've been doing. Maybe it might work. If it doesn't work one game, all right, go back to the way it was before. But just try. There's just no, the way that we are right now, nothing could be worse than what we have been doing. So you may as well just try it. Just change it up. Do what the fans want you to do and just go for it.
Okay, Sav, are you any more confident? John reckons 12 points from the next 4 games, all for the opposition.
All right.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go against it. I think we'll get 4 because every now and then we get that one really weird lucky win. And with, Steve Bruce's luck, sometimes, one will slip through and we'll get, more points than what we actually deserved. So I think, 4 points. God, that sounds sad, doesn't it? That we're looking at 2 and 4 points. But, it's just because nothing ever changes. Like Kendall says, I wish he would just go and change it. I want, like the fans the other week really pissed him off and he went out there and he was really raging about it. And he went out there to prove a point. And the point was, he made his point. I just wish he could get pissed off at us all the time. If we all keep digging at him, maybe it will happen. You don't know. But then I felt like after that win, he came back this weekend and was just more relaxed about it. And it was just same shit, different day for him. I'm just hoping that during those games at one point, he does try and change. He can't just keep sending us out in the same manner. I know he does, but you can't just sit there and watch that every week and think that is the way I'm going to play it. I don't understand how he does. I don't understand, anything, even, anything would be more than what he's doing.
Yeah, John reckons season has been weird in terms of bonkers results, so it could be in European places before we know it. Then again, yeah, I mean, it has been a crazy season, and yeah, you're right. I'm seeing some of the people saying that Bruce will probably fluke a couple of results. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he does. And the problem is with Bruce, there's no in between. If we get beat, we get comprehensively beaten by 4 or 5 goals. But he has managed to fluke a few results. Fungo Freddy says, yeah, West Brom and Burnley drew nil each, another 15 quid well spent, talking about the 14.95 for games. You did ask us.
Watch that game. Oh man.
I know. You did ask us about crime stuff as well, Fungo. Yeah, I haven't got anything about anybody in concert, no, but keep watching. There's plenty stuff coming up on the channel. Got some good interviews coming up with some very big names. Katie, any advance on 4 points?
Yes. I reckon we're going to get 6 points.
Wow.
That's right. And it's nothing to do with Newcastle at all. It's because we all did this before the season started and we were so fucking wrong, it was untrue. So I'm just going to flip it and think I actually honestly think we'll probably get 1. But if I say 6, then I'm covering my back, really.
See what you're doing.
I'm going for 6, and but really 6 obviously means 1. But honestly, how depressing is that? Like, as a team, as a club, Newcastle are like, oh, I hope we can get 6 points in these games. What the hell? Should be getting 6 points in 2 games, man. Fucking depressing.
And people call us deluded as well, and like that we expect too much. And then what we expect 1 point.
Fuck that. All we expect is to actually watch decent footy. We've got good players. It's simple. Play fucking footy like you like it. Ugh, wankers. But 6 points. 6 points.
Okay. That's fair enough. We'll look forward to reviewing that when we've played those games. Davey Eddy says we played Canny versus Burnley, Canny versus West Ham, we battled versus Spurs, we were poor versus Brighton, and poor versus Man United to an extent. We aren't poor, average, mid-table in my opinion. Davey, you're always the voice of reason. You've always got a slightly different opinion to people. So I don't know. Are we being too aggressive towards Steve Bruce, Samantha, or is Davey trying to play the devil's advocate there?
Yeah, I mean, you could say he has a point. I just err on the side of caution in that it's terrible football. It's lucky football. Luck runs out. We were not good against Spurs. My brother's a Spurs fan. He was absolutely livid. We had an outstanding goalkeeper performance. We have a goalkeeper performing above expectations because we're such a poor team that we let teams slice through us like butter. That can't continue. Darlow might not even play the next couple of matches. I'm not sure if there's any update on his fitness, and then we've got Gillespie back in. So, I mean, we aren't playing good football. We will struggle to create chances and score goals, and the problem is there's so much pressure on us when we do create chances that we don't score them, and then we're as likely to concede as anything. So you can play devil's advocate, you can say we're kind of mid-table, but I think we're hanging on by a thread. And I also, as an aside to that, I'm worried about the good players that we have that are going to become really frustrated. And I'm not talking about the Shelbys and the Lascelles. They're the ones that are going to be trying to hold it together because they're getting a game even when they don't deserve to. It's the other players that could be making a difference, that could be playing with more quality around them, that aren't getting that. So I just don't see it lasting.
Okay, same question to you, Kendall.
No, completely agree. We weren't good against Spurs at all. We absolutely fluked a little point there. Burnley, I mean, West Ham at the beginning of the season, you could argue we did play a pretty good game, but I think West Ham were diabolical. So it doesn't really help that was the case because it made us look good. And we really weren't. But that's probably the best game I've seen us play this season. As I said, Brighton, we were absolutely horrible. Spurs, we did nothing. Fluked that point. Obviously, we won against Burnley, but again, Burnley aren't a great side. At the moment, they've really not really made any transfers or anything like that. They're just sort of playing on the same wavelength as last season. So, and then obviously against Man United, we were shocking. So it is a bit devil's advocate because I don't think we've had an outstanding performance. I mean, even you could say the cup win, yes, 7-0, but I mean, but then we played Newport and ended up having to go to penalties. So what can, it's like a game of two halves, really. So I think it's a little bit, yes, we probably are being a little bit reactionary in how raging we are, but it's only because we know it's not going to change anytime soon because we've seen the pattern. So that's why we are so angry. It's not because we just want to be angry for no reason. So yeah, maybe it is a little bit reactionary in that sense, but as I say, we're not doing it on a basis of no reason. We're doing it for a reason because we know it's going to continue like this for a while. So that's why.
If any of you decide to take Michael up on his offer, I would just advise you not to go to a swimming pool party. Yeah, exactly. Sav, obviously, Same question to you. I mean, are we being a bit too harsh on Steve Bruce? Obviously, you know, we're trying to give everyone's viewpoint on here, and you know, the question was really, you know, we played well here, and here, but you know, what's your take? Are we being a little bit too harsh on Bruce?
No, not in my opinion. I'll probably get stick for this. But he's sort of, you know, when he does his interviews, he infuriates me. He's so negative. He's so like, oh, you know, maybe we can turn up. There's such a great side. And it's the same thing every week. I've got had a go at over saying this. But, you know, I think that he writes down, you know, what he's going to say, and he just, you know, spouts out the same crap week in, week out. West Ham, we were lucky. They did hit the bar twice. You know, it's like, I just think that he's just lucky. Like Newport, go to penalties with Newport. You know, we're in the Premiership. We shouldn't be going to penalties with Newport. We can't score. We can't score because he doesn't play right. And it's so infuriating to watch that week in, week out. You know, when we finally, you know, do have a good game, it's because the other side are really poor. And that's the only reason we can win, or he just gets a little bit of luck. And that's just how it is. I don't think we're being harsh. I don't think he's good enough. I think he's a nice person. He comes across as a nice person. But as a manager, because, you know, he's got no sort of domineering factors, there's no sort of management going on, and that is his main issue.
Katie, final word to you tonight. Are we being too harsh on Bruce?
Oh, we fuck.
That's it. That'll do.
I literally have nothing else to say.
That is a perfect way to finish it, though, and I would agree. I'd completely concur. I couldn't have put it better myself. As always, great to have you on, girls. It's always a pleasure talking football with you. It always cheers us up, and it's made me hangover feel a lot better. So good to have you on. Look forward to hopefully talking a bit more positively about a bit more positive result next week, but we'll not hold our breath. Have a good week. Take care, and I'll see you next Monday.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.